Look at the brain power assembled on this stage. If you were just wandering by outside and you just caught a glimpse, you'd be like, hell yeah, I got to stop in for this. And you'd be wise to do so. This is our Tech Stack panel. Our moderator, Brandon Pierpont, keeping these gentlemen in line. And who do we have? We have Cole Pelea, Josh Justin, Shane Fast, and Fred Hamilton Emery. That is the extent of my role in this process. Brandon, I give it to you for a Tech Stack panel.
Sweet, thank you, Andrew. What's up, guys? Post-launch, how's everybody feeling? We good? Heck yeah. Cool. Anybody learn anything so far? Yeah. Hope so. Sweet. Anybody have any good connections that you made so far? Yep. Awesome. So as we've gone, all of us have gone to quite a few PCA events, and one of the things that we noticed that was really complicated that people had a lot of questions on was tech stacks. So tech stack is just a fancy way of saying the different pieces of software, the different pieces of technology that you use in your company. And with AI and tech evolving at the rate that it is, it's becoming ever more complicated. And painters are obviously naturally usually super tech savvy, so you guys are always way ahead of the curve here. But we figured we'd still maybe talk about some tech stacks that are working for the painting companies up here. So we have a range of kind of revenue ranges, and that tech stack, it isn't, what works for a company starting out is probably not the right tech stack for a company at $1 million, and probably not the right tech stack for a company at multi-million. So we're going to cover a lot of different pieces of technology. We do want this to have a lot of Q&A. So when we're covering stuff, feel free to raise your hand. I'll call out to you and we'll get the questions answered, because you guys are probably going to have a lot of questions. We have a lot of different pieces of technology that we're going to cover. And with that, there's going to be a little presentation here that's basically going to outline the different pieces of tech that each of these companies uses. We're also going to share at the end of this presentation a folder with you that has a whole lot of SOPs that actually go far beyond the tech. So these gentlemen have been kind enough to share a lot of their internal standard operating procedure documents, which will be really neat for you guys to download. This presentation will be in there as well. So you guys will be able to see all the different pieces of tech they use. So if you feel like you're missing something, you'll have it. So with that, let's kind of just, if you could introduce yourself, name of your painting company, maybe where you're based, and then we'll get this kicked off.
I'm Cole Pelea, Novo Painting up in Seattle, Washington. We're primarily a commercial repaint company. We got about 12 in the field and 3 in the office.
I'm Joshua Justin, out of California, owner of Sequoia Painting. We're 40% commercial and 60% residential.
Fred Hamilton with Hamilton Painting up in Austin, Texas, and we are primarily focused on res repaint.
Shane Fast, Spartanburg, South Carolina, so it's upstate South Carolina, and we are primarily res repaint and then dabble in some of the other ones as well. Hybrid model, W2 and sub.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So let's kind of kick this off with I'll kind of go in the order here. We won't do a super deep dive. But let's kick it off in the order of just kind of running through the different pieces of tech you use.
So my journey through this whole thing has always been like I wanted to run my company through my phone for the last 13 years. And every time I go through these things, I find new technologies and a little bit of ADD on it. But our main system we use is Google, calendar, email, of course, and all of that. A lead comes in, it goes into HubSpot. HubSpot kicks it to Buildertrend, which is our operations platform. In Buildertrend, all time clocks, job folders, schedules, daily logs, photos, everything is all in that. Job costing, everything is in there. Buildertrend's a little more robust than I think of what I actually need, because it's really made for general contractors. But it does allow me to be versatile and handle some of my subs through that system. I've been on it for maybe 6 years now, and I like it. Xero is our bookkeeping system. Mainly that happened 12, 13 years ago because my bookkeeper, that was what she wanted to use, and that's how I got on it. And Gusto is our payroll platform, so completely online, direct deposits. crew has access online through that. I didn't like going to the job sites on Friday, like I heard earlier, to drop off checks, so they get it on Wednesday. Paint Scout, of course, has been a game changer for us. And then Corrigo is a platform where one of our commercial clients requires us to utilize that platform in order to receive work orders and things like that. So we've had to learn new technologies. And CapCut and whatever you guys use to do your social media videos and whatever is easiest, CapCut works for us on that front.
Cool. You turned the screen so I could see it. So we've been using the same tech stack for about 7 years now. We transitioned into Res Repaint from doing apartments. The first 3 years we were in business, we were just sending estimates and invoices with just Excel, right? Didn't need to really have a whole lot of robustness with it because it was like one single client was our main source of income. Once we transitioned, I realized that having a calendar scheduling app was one of like the starting point. And so we have everything tied together with Zapier. If everybody's familiar with Zapier, it's, if you don't have software programs that will talk to each other already, Zapier can make it happen. So we had somebody set this tech stack up for us 7 years ago, and we haven't strayed far from it. The reason for that is because I'm still the chief cook and bottle washer in my company. I don't have an office staff, or we just hired our first PM, so it's going to evolve. But right now, I'm the only one using the softwares, and this is what has made my life really a lot easier. Acuity scheduling takes all the information from the clients. What I love is, we've got our intake form is very customized to the information that I want to know from them. And then from there, it goes into a Google Sheet somewhere that just has our client list on it. That is connected to Estimate Rocket, so that Estimate Rocket is where we send all of our proposals from. And then we do all of our invoicing through QuickBooks. We already were using it for our bookkeeping software, but what I found out was that it's the cheapest that I've found to do payments through, to process payments. It's like 1% capped at $15 a transaction for ACH transactions. So that's typically how we take, and we can take credit cards on it too for like 3%. But that's the easiest and cheapest way that we're able to send invoices. And one thing I want to mention, I do all this from my phone. I hardly use my laptop for any of this at all. Like the only time I want to get into my laptop is for like a large proposal where I need like a huge Excel spreadsheet to figure out all the square footage of a house and stuff like that. So that's what's really helped me as a kind of smaller company with only one person doing all this, being able to do it all from mobile. So
Awesome. Thanks, Fred.
Well, awesome. So we use Slack. That is our main hub for all of our communication with all of our teams. That's where they'll get their work orders. They're required to update every day at 10 a.m. Where they're at on that project. Communication goes through there. It's nice because it gets saved. So if we go back 2 or 3 months, we can look back and see. It saves it all, so we can look back and see. Paint Scouts is our estimating for residential. Very awesome, fast and easy, so you can get the estimates out on site. High Level is our CRM. That is awesome because it does a lot of communicating on its own. After the estimator looks at that project, it'll send several different text messages and emails. Toggle is what we use. Toggle AI is what we use for our commercial, which is an awesome program. And then Google Suites. We'll use Google Calendar, Gmails, all the different docs that Google comes with, and yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Josh.
All right. Okay. Can I just stand up? Because this is like way easier for me. Okay. So everybody's talked about Paint Scout. Incidentally, we're not like paid by them or something. It just happens to be one that we all love. For me, the most important thing about estimating software is accuracy, production rates, and being able to give it on site. So that checks that box. But before that, it comes into Monday through the CRM, spits into Paint Scout. Everything's undergirded by Zapier. So as soon as it hits one thing, it just starts to flow from there. Once it's sold, it goes back into Monday.com under our project management board. It's very important for me with 2 project managers that are very young to have all the data in a couple central places. So they'll find it in Paint Scout, Monday, or Company Cam. They look those places, and then they come ask the salesperson if they have a question afterwards. Right now, for time tracking with our W-2s, we were using Connect Team. We're dropping that to switch to Busy Busy. Has a lot more versatility for us. Slack is what we use with our subcontractors. Google undergirds a lot of that. Of course, we had always talked about AI. And then the Hire Bus we've used for like a year and a half or 2 years now as a coaching assessment hiring tool. It's very, very robust in its assessments and very intelligible to the trades. And so we leverage that a lot in our personal development with our people. That looks like a lot up there, and it kind of is a lot. I've got just a gift of God and a 25-year-old in our office that set all this stuff up. And she helped figure out what the best thing for us was. So that is way too much if you don't have that kind of person. And it looks like a lot more up there than it is. Like if I showed you on a computer how it works, it's actually pretty simple. Once something comes in, it just tracks through. So we just want somebody to have a fantastic experience with us from the first time they call till we give them a thank you gift and ask for the Google review at the end. And so all of this is driven around that theory, is that if we do that, people will keep coming back to us. And so we wanted tech that did that the entire way through.
Thanks, Shane. So, guys, we have a lot of different revenue ranges in here. We have a lot of people who are starting out. So I don't want to assume that everyone knows everything that is being talked about up here. So Zapier it's a software that essentially connects a lot of other pieces of software. So if you have 2, 3, 10 pieces of software, this will make them work together. There's make.com is a similar piece of software that does that. But you can see there are themes. There's CRM, that stands for Customer Relationship Management Software. It's largely a way to communicate with your leads and to communicate with your customers. I think, Josh, you said you use High Level. We use High Level for our partners. It's a good one. There are a couple different options. There's obviously estimating. I think all you guys know that's typically easier with software. There's internal project management. There's internal team communication. So there are a lot of fundamental stuff up here. But if you guys are seeing something you don't know, it sounds like gibberish or you're not even sure what's mean, please raise your hand because it's not a stupid question. We want to make this really, really interactive. And then we have a microphone that will run over to you to ask a question. So we know we have a fair amount of people who are early stages in their business. Some of you guys are, this is a lot of tech here. Shane, if we're just getting started, first 6 months of business, what are the core pieces, the affordable pieces of tech that we need to implement? Anyone?
I would, if I was starting over again, I would start with Paint Scout, hands down, because
Paint Scout, you owe us money.
Wait, what's it?
I just said Paint Scout owes us money, please.
Oh, yeah. Definitely, yeah. And I have not seen this CRM. I've talked to a few friends who have demoed it, and they said it's been really solid. So that could solve a couple problems there, or a couple challenges in one basket there. I think that typically you're not going to have to do a handoff between sales and production at that level. Let's say I'm up to like 500, 750. It's probably just me selling and production managing. So I don't need an intermediary there. So I like the idea of like Company Cam, Paint Scout, assuming Paint Scout CRM is like enough in that way. Scheduling, I think at that point, Google Calendar does all that. You don't need to pay for that. So there's a certain simplicity in like, let me do one thing and do it well and do it over and over again. And then as I grow, I can add to it.
Can I throw something in there about, I didn't even realize this. I had somebody set up the automations for me 7 years ago, and I didn't even realize this was a thing until like a year and a half later. I used to use Apple Maps on my iPhone, and then one day I just happened to switch to Google Maps, and I started typing, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, my client is already in there? So apparently they synced it to my Google contacts, and my contact syncs with my map. So now all I have to do is start typing my client's name, and boom, it just pops up in Maps. So like little tiny productivity hacks that are like, oh, I've got to go to this person's house. Where do I find their address? I don't have to like go back into my CRM or my estimating program to do that. So just little things that help, and then. Just full disclosure, we are switching to Paint Scout, so if they're listening, can I get a check too?
So I shouldn't make my comments about Paint Scout? I love it. I mean, you pump out a proposal, it pumps out a work order, it gives you the quantities, it gives it all there, and you put that in the Google drive, and you're set. You know, like it's pretty simple. Like, so yeah, if there's one I would recommend, it's Paint Scout for sure.
Yeah, I'll chip in here too for company cam. So there are a lot of painting companies that are pretty far along that don't use a software like that. It's not really a mandatory software, but that's going to allow you to take a bunch of project photos out there. So when you kind of get to the basics where you can manage your projects, you can communicate with your leads, your prospects, your customers consistently. You have a software to consistently conduct estimates and invoices and your accounting and all that. Then you would really want to level up and start using softwares like Company Cam. They're actually going to be proactive marketing tools for you to really create portfolios and things like that. So as you guys you have a comment on that? No. Okay. So as you guys are adopting the new technology, how do you deal, number one, with the learning curve, right? And then if you have a team, how do you deal with maybe the natural pushback or the challenges of getting your team to adopt the new technology?
So the implementation and all of that has been probably the biggest challenge over the years, right? Because it really changes the whole workflow of everything. But when you're first going into it, you know, it's a shiny lure because everything does all these things and you're free demoing this and free demo that, and then you get all jazzed and you're up at 2 o'clock in the morning and you're like tweaking because you just see it all, right? And really, it's human nature. It's our entrepreneurial spirit to want to move this forward. But to have that patience, I guess, when you're looking at it, because to implement something through your whole organization, you got to have people who are on board with it too. And you got to get the buy-in from your key people who you need putting inputs on. The field is my third feedback. I'll ask them, like, they're the third layer, you know. It's me first, then my wife. And then if she's okay with it and we're all okay with it, then we'll get it into the field. And we kind of use like we've done it in a 3-month process, which actually was kind of quick, actually, you know, to transition from program to program. But I would just be aware of that as a cautionary thing, is like, don't jump too quick. Just take your time, look at really what works, and you'll find something that has the things you need. Test it, do the free demo, go until the demo expires, and then call them and say, hey, I'm really interested in your program. Could you extend the demo for me? And every single time they extend the demo because they're trying to sell the program, right? And so that way it got me to have a real good conversation with the company on the other end, the tech, to see, like, have this dialogue to see if it really was going to work for me or not. And so I would just say, just be patient and take your time with it.
I think I agree with Cole. You definitely have to have your team buy into whatever programs you guys are going to utilize, because they got to be able to understand it. They got to be able to move forward with it. So you got to have them buy in for sure.
I'm a super high DI, referring to the disc earlier, and I love change. So it's like pretty much like my wife and kids are the only thing in my life I don't like. Think about changing all the time, and so sometimes, so I have to be really careful because I just like to change, and so I have to remember, like, this is a hard thing to change, and so we don't tread lightly when we look at changing software. We spend a good bit of time on it, and then I'm okay also if I need to make a change to pay for 2 things at once. And what we do is we pilot it with our best lead painter, like our best crew lead, or we pilot it with our best sub, and we just kind of like roll it out for like 6 weeks or a month and make sure like we're locked, we're good, we're like jam up, now let's roll the whole thing out. And so people don't generally like change, and so you have to be aware of that and like sell them on the vision, sell them on the why, sell them on why it's going to help them and why it's going to be better for their lives and their productivity and their pocket at the end of the day, and then roll it out, kind of slowly, pilot it, find the kinks. Yeah, that's one thing I'd say.
I think that's a key point. That's a key point, like to really make sure that you're piloting them with those leads, because you need their buy-in, and I've seen my field reject stuff that I put in out there. Like, you spend all this time, you put the energy in, and then they kick it back, and they don't even use it. And you just need that one key player to be your advocate for you. So yeah.
So if you want to talk about slowly adapting to new software. Don't ask me how long I've actually been paying for Paint Scout and we haven't made the transition. It's just way too long. Yeah.
Sponsor.
Sponsor. They owe me money. They really do. So one of the things that I've found when I've actually demoed a lot of the other softwares, I mean, I've demoed Drip Jobs, I've demoed House Call Pro, Thrive, Jobber, and I'm actually really glad that I have the tech stack that I do that's all very segmented. All the things that we're using have a specific feature, have a specific function, and they're very customizable for that. So what I've found with most of the larger, kind of all-in-one encompassing platforms is they would have been great if they got to me before I learned what Zapier was and had all these things set up. But what I run into is that I've got a very specific sales process and, project management process, being the only one running all of it, that I don't want to have to adapt to their system and change what I do with my customers for it. And I'll give you a very good example. So a lot of people will have their calendar so people can go to your website and book an estimate appointment, right? Drip Jobs, when I took a great idea from them with their software, they ask for all of your information and they say, what's a good time for us to come and look at your project? Give us a day and morning, afternoon, night, whatever, and then give us a second day. And then you get to get back to them and schedule the appointment. I think they may have a feature where you can just put it on a calendar, but what I found is that instead of leaving my calendar wide open and then having the customers dictate where I get to go every day, I would rather do that pre-qualification call. I know some people frown on doing that, go to everyone, but I still just that setup call even. I want to find out more about their project, and I want to see where it's going to fit the best into my route, because hey, Austin's a big city. It could take an hour and a half, sometimes longer, to drive across from one side to the other. So I don't want to have somebody dictate my schedule just randomly. And so that's one of the big drawbacks of not having that customization. And one of the things that I look for when I wanted to demo those and possibly utilize one is that will one of these softwares plug in with Zapier and be able to work in tandem with the system I have, so that I can essentially run that client through both systems at once while I'm trying it out to see if those features are going to work. So that's just one way to kind of get over the implementation trap, right? That's a great question, and I didn't. It was actually my original web guide told me that the analytics, the way it works with Google Analytics is a lot better than Calendly, or at least it was. So he recommended that, and I guess the features were relatively the same. So that's just the only reason why we've been with them so long.
Oh, the second Paint Scout, we use it, love it. Want to get some money as well, so send that to me. Josh, we're implementing high-level CRM, but the only thing I found is so advanced that it's very difficult for me to set up. How did you get past that initial, there's just so much stuff you can do with it. How did you get it set up to operate like you wanted to?
For you?
This is for high level, so that's for Josh.
For HubSpot?
No, for high-level CRM.
Unfortunately, I can't answer that question because my COO set it up, and it did take him some time to get it set up. And then also, he's going to kick me down some money too. We use Paint Scouts, and they were a wonderful help with setting up the high level as well.
Oh, really?
Not Paint Scouts, I'm sorry, Painters Marketing.
Yeah, so we use Go High Level, and so we rolled out for all our partners. I'll tell you, I personally dove into it for 2 to 3 months. It is extensive. It's built out. So there are that's a whole industry, Go High Level experts, integrators. So you can go on to Upwork, you can go on to Fiverr, you can go on to some of these sites where you can hire freelancers, and you can hire someone to actually set up your Go High Level depending on what you want, and then train you and your team on it. So I'd highly recommend that. If you dive in and you don't have a strong background in software, it's just gonna eat up too much time.
Yeah, I would say, we talked some last night. I'm usually pretty honest. I would use Paint Scout CRM.
Okay.
Yeah, don't make it hard. Don't make it harder than it has to be. It's there.
Yeah, I got trapped in HubSpot. I went in, I was thinking it was so robust, and I get in there and the features, and they're charging you more for more features and all of that, right? And so I was already kind of in there, and now I'm trying to back out and get back to just utilizing my Paint Scout or something simple like pipeline deals. I don't know if they're even still around, but something like that. That was really simple, and it was effective.
So, guys, a couple themes that they talked about that I think are important to note. So, when you're rolling stuff like this out, new technology, which people can naturally be resistant to, and really any major change, you could see that Cole talked really nicely about kind of a hierarchy. He's gonna explore it first. He's gonna make sure that he wants to adopt it. Then he's gonna roll it out to his wife, and then ultimately his senior leadership team, and down and so forth. And then Shay mentioned having basically an advocate, right? Someone who's going to champion it within the organization. And it's a sale. So if you own a company, everything that you do is a sale. You're selling your clients, you're selling your team on the vision, you're selling your team on the new software, why it's going to benefit them, why it's going to make their life easier or better, or whatever it is. So just something to think about. Up here, we're talking a lot about the benefits of the different technologies, but with change, there's always a risk, there's always pain, there's always things that can go wrong. So as you guys have evolved your tech stack, what are some maybe challenges you faced or mistakes that you've made, and how did you deal with them?
My mistake was taking on too much at once. Like, I think like one program a year is healthy. Otherwise, with the way technology goes, it's always, it's an endless battle to keep renewing, refreshing, and everything, right? So you're on this cycle in a way, and you kind of gotta settle into it. So I would say like, one a year.
I think I kind of agree with Brandon. Is you gotta, like with us with Slack, one of the things that we did is sometimes you get excited with these programs and stuff, and like Cole says, you want to push it out there right away because you feel like it's going to do something, but sometimes it'll backfire on you. So like when Slack, when we implemented that into our company, we started utilizing it in the office first. Once the office staff got really familiarized with it, then we like soft launched it to a couple of our foremans, see how they kind of liked it first, and then if they bid into it, then we would do training. I'm a big fan of training. We do quarterly training, and so stuff like this, we'll call all the foremans in and we'll do a training on it, and then we'll launch it out to everybody. So I think the big key is just to slowly push things out like that, because you can really overwhelm a painter and a foreman real fast. I mean, we all get overwhelmed with these programs, so you can feel what a painter's or a foreman's gonna get overwhelmed real quick too as well, on top of all the other stuff that he has going on his projects. So,
Right. I think if you're working with Daniel over there, he's gonna be on you on your software line item on your P&L, because you get into these programs and all of a sudden your finance person is like, hey, you got enough subscriptions out there for all these apps that you're on, and that was a eye opener for me, at least, too. And I didn't know that till I looked at the P&L, how many things I signed up for.
One of the things that I would caution anybody who's signing up for a new software, I'll give you a case study that happened to us. So automations are amazing, but you've got to make sure that the things that you are trying to automate are set up correctly on the front end before you push the go button. Great case study was we signed up for a company that asked for reviews for us, and essentially they asked for our client list, so we plugged it in there. And I thought all of the automations were turned off. They weren't. So like within the next day or two, we had the first batch of people that they reached out for a review. One of them was a customer that I wouldn't have wanted to work with again. Definitely didn't want to ask for a review. That was, kind of a personal choice. But another one was somebody who we had only gotten a deposit from. We didn't actually do the work for them yet. And they got an email asking for a review. And I was like, as soon as I realized it, I reached out and apologized. But that's just because they happened to be in our customer list that had, populated in that program. And because I didn't spend the time going through it and making sure that, there was that separation, that's like all of a sudden the automation did what it was supposed to, but because of my user error, it caused an issue. So I would be very, very wary of the things that you allow to automate without, putting your eyes on them first.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add is just know your limitations. I'm really blessed to have Hannah in my office, and she can do a lot of different stuff and figure it out. I've heard like no drip painting, and Michael present on stuff before, and I'm like, oh, we're going to go do that. I'm like, we can actually do that yet. There's no way. And so you just have to be willing to say, we're not there yet, and that's okay.
So I want to kind of follow up to Fred's point. So when I'm going to give an example from a CRM. So again, customer relationship management software. We use Go High Level, so you can automate text messages, emails, voicemail drops, all kind of. Voicemail drop is when a voicemail goes into somebody's phone, and you didn't actually call them. So that's a little hack for you guys. It'll look like you called them. And so I sent one out for an event we did recently. So I called, about 3,000 people in 30 seconds. So cool technology, kind of scary stuff that you can do. One of the things I want to point out, because we've implemented this with hundreds of painting companies. I will tell you, we spend six figures, but we're a marketing agency. We spend six figures a year in software. Don't overreact if you get a negative piece of feedback. So one of the things that we notice, let's say you implement a CRM and you're messaging before an estimate, and you're sending out a few messages, you're sending out unique value propositions, a little bit about your company, and then someone responds. They're like, hey, please stop texting me, or you're annoying me. Right? The knee-jerk reaction that we've seen of a lot of painting companies, especially if they're new into the software, new into some of this stuff, is, hey, turn it all off. Someone reacted negatively, shut it all down, right? But they're not taking into account all the deals that they're closing because of it, all the things that are positive. So make sure you know whenever you make change, Myron Golden, somebody I follow, he says disruption always follows intention. Whenever you make change, there's going to be a little bit of negative feedback. There might be a text that goes out at 3 a.m. Things happen. We own businesses, shit happens, right? Things go wrong. So if something goes wrong or if you get negative feedback, that doesn't mean scrap the whole thing and go back to just texting. And I'm just going to text because now I can control it, because then you can't scale. But cost of tech stack is really important. Can we get some, I guess we don't have to necessarily go through software by software, but what roughly should people expect or be willing to spend on their tech stack per month or per year, maybe if they're 0 to 500,000, 500,000 to $1 million. Do you guys have benchmarks you recommend?
I might be the wrong guy to ask. Shane.
Yeah, this is probably something I should know. Is Chris still in the
Daniel,
room?
we need you.
I agree with that.
Our financials are healthy. And
Know
I
your
just
numbers.
trust Hannah to figure out the best value. So that's the way we roll.
I think Slack. I want to say Slack is around $3,000 a year, but they do have a free edition. I think you're maybe just limited to the channels that you create, or
Well, you just lose your data like 90 days or something. I think that's so we use the free one.
so. And I don't think it saves. Does it save? Can you go back 3 months or 4 months?
I mean, it cuts off.
Oh, it does, yeah. So I think when you pay for it, I think you get it saves it in their database, and then you can create as many channels as you want. I mean, we have every project channel that we have going on. We have vehicle channels, so if any of our teams have problems with their vans, they'll put it in there. We kind of made it fun too of them having some fun stuff. They can kind of like a Facebook and Instagram thing that they can share what they're doing on the weekends and stuff with their family, and kind of like the Sequoia Painting family channel. So, but yeah, I'm almost positive. I think it's like $3,000 a year. So, and I think you could pay it annually or you can pay it by month.
So I just looked. I'm doing about 1.8% of my P&L. Of my budget. So like right now it's about $2,600 for my whole stack a month total.
I think we paid $240 a year for the annual plan on Zapier, and then everything else it's like $60 for Estimate Rocket. I think it's about $120 for Paint Scout. QuickBooks, $80 a month. I want to say that's on my own plan. I can get it cheaper through CPA, but we added the payments feature to it. And then what else do we use? We have Company Cam. I haven't implemented it fully yet, but that's like whatever, $25 a month. I mean, we probably, thank you, there it is. That's what we use, yeah. I mean, honestly, if we spend more than $400 a month on our software, that I feel like that's a lot. And to me, it's like it's a no-brainer. It's just saved me so much time to use all these softwares that I don't even think about it. Dan would think about it, but probably not much. It's not that much, right?
I think the biggest probably thing, I mean, it sounds like there's like a 1% to 2% number floating around, but also it's like, is this going to make me money? That's my lens. That's the lens we always filter through in our office. Is this going to make us money either by saving a lot of time and or creating the customer, like heightening the customer experience? And at that point, we'll spend the money.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. I know this is a residential, but on our commercial side, with Togo AI, our commercial estimator, if he did a large hotel or something, I mean, he'll be diving into the plans for that for a couple of days with Togo AI. I've seen them do it as fast as 3 hours, have the takeoffs done. And you're talking for a whole hotel or apartment complex so. Definitely saves time.
And while Brandon's doing it, we share a lot of logins too. There's certain logins you can share and not disrupt the software, and that's something we do a lot of.
I agree.
Cheat code.
Yeah, and something too to be aware of, the percent, so we're talking 1 or 2%. I like Shane's approach. Is it going to make me money? Is the ROI going to be there? It's also that your percentage is going to vary based on the size of your company. You get one piece of software and you're making $50,000 a year, it's going to be a little bit different, right? That percentage might go down as you get bigger, even as you get more software. So it's something to be aware of. So we've talked about mistakes that you guys have made. Obviously, you've been in the trade for a long time, friends with a lot of other painters. What are typical mistakes you would say are common to the industry in terms of how painters think about, adopt, or do not adopt tech?
I think a lot of times it's about being stuck in the old bucket. Like sometimes we get in the bucket and we don't look above the rim because we're so comfortable in the bucket. And I've seen that hold up some of the other companies who resist the acceptance of maybe doing something a little different, even though they know it's going to save them time and money. And so, but it became because of their reluctancy to change their habit and grow as a leader and implement things too. So I always think about that bucket as an analogy of it. It's like if you're going to peek outside that bucket, then these technologies are going to work for you. But if you're not willing to look outside that bucket, and you just want to stay in here, then I see a lot of people get held up in that bucket. If you will.
Just seeing the Gusto logo over there right now, like we've been using Gusto for payroll for the last 4 or 5 years now. It's like the 5th payroll software that we've used. When we started our business 10 years ago, we had employees, pretty much right off the bat. And I've been through several payroll providers. Gusto, I don't even think of it necessarily as a technology platform because it's just payroll is essential. It's an essential function of doing business. But the crazy thing is because it makes it so much easier for us, it's worth, every penny. Yeah, I mean, as far as from a what do you do first, right? When you start your business and you've got so many things that are on your plate, using something like QuickBooks and a payroll software, and then even hiring a bookkeeper, that was one of the first things we did. First thing, I'm like, I don't want to try to keep my books. I've seen a lot of people who will go through 5-10 years, like they're still trying to do the books themselves. And I mean, that takes a lot of time, right? So things like just trying to offload using technology, and then of course using somebody like a bookkeeper to come in and help with it, that saves you a lot of time that you otherwise could be working on growing your business, right? And the same thing with like using the estimating software. I remember when I first started and we were just doing things on Excel, like there's no continuity with it. It's a lot harder to like see, okay, well, how much was our sales this month or anything? Like it's a bunch of random Excel files that are in a folder, right? So I think being slow to jump into using technology has been a mistake I've seen a lot of people fall through because again, Dan talks about it, knowing your numbers. You're not going to know your numbers until you have the technology to show them to you. Otherwise, you're spending a lot of free time just trying to come up with your own manual reports on stuff.
When you're implementing this stuff, does the owner have to be the one to do it? What are your guys' thoughts in terms of like say, hey, I run a painting company. I'm not very tech savvy. I'm not interested in tech. I hate it. Still got a flip phone. Does that mean that I just can't scale my business now?
I'm going to answer the way I think I understood it. Like, so I almost think I don't care how much you know, if you're the owner, I would hope you have other things to be doing besides implementing a tech stack. That's the way I think. We have a team of people, and if I don't trust that person to do that job better than what I could do myself, then why did I hire them? So that's, I guess, from a person who enjoys tech, and I have been a part of our team creating different schedule help and production help with AI and stuff. Like, I enjoy those pieces, and I kind of know what we're going after and helping there. But I really trust our team to think in the best way. Like, with the Monday CRM decision was not actually my decision. I tasked two in our office, like, hey, figure this out and come back and tell me what the best option is, the best value. Now, I don't know, as far as the owner who literally has no concept of tech, that would be a little challenging in general, I guess. But to your point, I guess if you can surround yourself with a team that can do that, you'd be all right.
So it depends on your role too, yeah. Like, starting out, I might not have the team, so I got to kind of figure that out and iron it out. And solopreneur, you're running it, it's going to be you. As the company grew, then I needed the input from my people, and then I can assign them and get their buy-in and tell me what you think, kind of thing. But that's kind of like an evolution of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good correction there. That's good tweet.
So one of the things you guys can think of too is let's say you get to a point you're scaling a bit and you hire an office manager. A lot of young people are naturally pretty techie, and they don't need to be paid as much also because they're young. So you can think, okay, I'm going to hire someone who's really into tech, who's going to do all this stuff for me, and they're also going to be, they're going to do the scheduling and answering the phone, all this other stuff. They're also going to help me adopt tech and kind of implement the tech in the company. So stuff.
And you also got to remember too, you have your PCA team. I mean, that's why we do these things, right? So we can all be a huge team and exchange numbers with each other, and that way it'll save you 2 weeks of the time. You could do it in 30 minutes or an hour, so always utilize PCA as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I know for me, when we adopted Paint Scout, I called a friend in St. Louis, and he said you can download all the production rates and email them to somebody else, and then I could kind of start to understand how to make all these things work for us and align all our stuff around it too. So that's a great point, Josh.
I don't think he's here, but Juan from Illusions, he came to my office a couple weeks ago because he's getting ready to do residential's repainting, and he spent the whole day there. And we went down all of our production rates and got everything set up in his program, and they're actively working on it right now. So utilize the PCA team if you don't have an office staff or, so.
Yeah, awesome. What are your guys' thoughts on some softwares kind of try to do multiple things? So there's this idea of more of all-in-one softwares versus specialized softwares, and maybe it depends on the stage of your business, or maybe it doesn't. You guys have thoughts on that?
To me, I feel like it depends on the stage of your business. I know John Bryant told me a couple years ago at Expo that if you're $1 million or plus, you're going to have a stack of technology. And then, they kind of reacted to demand and created their own CRM now. But I'm still guessing they're still using somewhat of a stack, even having created that stuff. And that was kind of eye-opening for me. It was also really frustrating because I thought, I just want one thing. Can I just buy one thing? I don't want to have to connect all these dots. And so I think $750 and under, you can probably find an all-in-one that can combined with a Google Suite, can really kind of take care of everything and probably minimize your headaches and making sure all the stuff's working together.
And once again, I'll caution with that, there's only so much you can customize one single software. So if you're OCD about your process, like I am, there's certain things I just don't want to have to adapt my process to the software. I want the software to be able to adapt to me. And that's one thing that you can do by using multiple technologies. Again, I'm spoiled, I guess, because I learned how customizable certain things were before we got to an all-in-one. But one point about that is I met somebody here at the event yesterday that they do north of 15 million in revenue, and they're also using Paint Scout for estimating. So some of these softwares, they can cover a very wide range of needs when it comes to a company. Again, they have a whole other slew of softwares they use as well, so not everybody's going to use every feature of every software. But with the all-in-ones, if you really just need an easy solution to jump into something because you've never had tech before, I think it might be a good starting point. I would just say don't close your mind to what else is out there that could also be added onto it to help supplement certain things that you feel like could be done better or differently. Or if eventually you decide to go out and piece it out into different softwares.
So like from 2012, I had this hunt for the all-in-one. And then you find the all-in-one. And you're like, right on, estimate to time cards, job costing, all of that. And then Paint Scout comes out and they screw me up because I'm like, man, this technology is so good that now do I really want it all in one? And so it just worked that, well, after going all in one, I had to take that one piece out and now, Builder Trend does everything except estimating for me, so.
Sounded like some sort of action adventure movie. Since 2012,
Feels like
I've
since
been on a hunt,
2012.
a man on a mission.
I mean,
Also, guys, when you guys are using this software, like you're using Paint Scout, you can use that stuff in your contracting and your estimate to refer to the PCA standards. So if you're a member of the PCA or thinking about being a member of the PCA, same idea as leveraging the people that you're meeting, probably meeting people who are a lot farther along than you, exchange contact information, reach out to them, because if they're doing multiple millions and you're just starting, odds are good that they're using softwares that you're going to want to learn and use, right? But if you're a member of the PCA, leverage the standards and make sure that your prospects, your leads, the homeowners, the commercial property owners know that and what the standards are, because it's going to help you differentiate from chucking a truck who's going to roll up and he's not. So all this stuff, it goes back to sales and marketing, unique selling propositions, and it's real. So make sure you're doing that stuff.
One of the things too, you may have said this, Brandon, but the PCA also has a production rate book that you guys can purchase, right?
Yeah, I think it's digital and
purpose. Yeah, for you guys that are starting out, I really highly recommend that. I mean, we still use it a lot to this day, even though we got a lot of production rates built in Paint Scouts and stuff. I mean, some of our commercial stuff, when you're doing steel buildings or, it's a good starting point, those books. So I would really highly recommend to get that book.
If I can interject just on that point of production rates, that was actually remembering back to when I first signed up for Estimate Rocket, we used their built-in production rates that came with the software, and I just made the assumption that they were correct. That only worked for one bid. I lost money on one job, and I'm like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. I need to go and actually put our own, yeah. So just word to the wise.
That is a very good point because, they will come with some standardized production rates, and they're not going to match your company. Just like if I was to give you my production rates, you probably have to test them out a little bit because they may not match your company as well.
Question.
We get our data from Busy, and so Google Sheets is where we do a ton of stuff. Google Sheets is where all our job costing is housed. We can upload all the timesheets in there, download all the Benmore, Sherwin, Renner, wherever we're buying materials from, and then our PMs put a job code. Everything has a job code, so they put that in there, and it pulls in all that data that we can then align to it. That's a short answer. Longer one is we can look at my computer and show you.
Our job costing is all within Builder Trend. So Builder Trend will collect all the time. It's going to collect all my bills and invoices, and everything gets shot into Builder Trend. And when I pull up that job folder, it's going to show me my job costing right in the home page with the daily logs from the most recent updates from that project, and we can track it that way.
So to Fred's point, when he talked about his sales process and making the tech stack fit it, there's not one size fits all here. So there's where it's really important to know your business and kind of your values and how it runs, because just because everyone's up here, maybe everyone or almost everyone's using Paint Scout. Paint Scout's a phenomenal software. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't the right software for you, right? So just being really intentional with your business. Are there any resources, so blogs, podcasts, websites, anything that you guys would recommend or that you've used to learn about these pieces of software that we could share?
Come to a PCA event and talk to your peers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's real. I mean, we wouldn't have heard of Paint Scout without being here, so, or any of the other stuff. So, I mean, that's the biggest source, really.
I mean, you could ask ChatGPT, but that's just,
Well, it's funny you said Hannah just recalibrated a number of our things and used ChatGPT to do it. Like I've got these softwares, how do I use Zapier to make them talk to each other and all that stuff. And I've built some pretty sick spreadsheets just by saying I want to know if my production manager's hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 metrics. Like give me a formula for that just by telling it like what. So there is that. But as far as like researching, I mean, I think it's your peers.
Okay, so if anyone else has any questions, feel free to ask them. But if there's just one takeaway that you guys can share, if there's just one thing that you want the listeners to walk away from, and I'll have each of you guys do this, what would it be? Starting with Cole.
Go ahead, Shane.
Starting with Shane.
So our entire business is built upon the customer journey. So we think a good quality finished product is a barrier to entry in our industry. So that's you can play the game that way. If you can give the customer joy and delight throughout the entire experience, then you're going to win. So we want to win, and so we want to give the customer that experience. So everything we do tech-wise is centered around the customer first.
I love that because to me, the customer experience is paramount. We are OCD about details and how good of a quality product we leave behind when we leave a job site. But from start to finish, how that client interacts with us is very, very heavily reliant on the software that we use. That's one reason I've stayed away from a lot of the automations and stuff. And to my own detriment, I've left a little bit of the personal touch in there with it. But when it comes right down to it, having the right software can save you so much time that you can. When Dan was talking about one of the first hats that you take off is hiring somebody in the back office, like I went straight to hiring a project manager instead because I don't have to spend a ton of time with the back office stuff yet. When we get to a higher revenue level and there's just too many invoices to send out or something, then maybe. But right now, I can pull out my phone and send an invoice to somebody in like 60 seconds. So that's you just can't say enough about how much time savings there is with it.
I think mine is not surrounded by a tech stack, but I think if you're starting out, you need SOPs and you need to do training. We do quarterly training, and yes, numbers are gonna run through your head. It's probably cost you $5 or $10 to shut your company down for the day to do some type of a training, but it's gonna save you headaches and it's gonna save you money in the long run. So making sure your SOPs are all in line and lots of training. Just get that muscle memory built into your entire staff. So
Take your time, trial, and be patient with it, because when you try to rush it because you just want to get that result, I found that for me, I've always ended up in a position where I have to like reverse now because the program wasn't the right program or what have you. But if I just took my time a little bit more, and once you get that, if you can find one advocate in your company to help you implement, that's going to be the game changer. You just need that one other advocate out there to help you get it going. So take your time, trial, get an advocate.
So guys, you can scan this QR code right here. There are going to be a bunch of resources from the gentleman up here on the stage. This presentation's going to be in there, so you'll have that. Scan that. While you're doing that, who here, I just want to do one more quick value prop for the PCA. Who here has ever had a homeowner do the flashlight test? Kind of take a flashlight on the wall. It's a good time, right? So the PCA has standards where they actually say that the standards do not include that it's not, you shouldn't be doing the flashlight test. So that's an example of how the PCA helps you. It's not that expensive, right? The membership is a drop in the bucket relative to the benefit, because you can take that to the homeowner and you can say, hey, listen, I'm a member of the largest professional trade association of painting contractors. We uphold the most ethical and strongest standards in the industry. Just want to show you that I'm not holding the phone, not holding my flashlight to your wall, right? So guys, download that. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, everyone. Hopefully you guys learned something.
thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.